Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Canto 5, Chapter 18, Text 24. Translated with devotional commentaries by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So, we've been hearing from Sukadeva Goswami in his conversation with Maharaj Parikshit on the bank of the Ganges. We've been hearing about the different varsas, or the different sections of Jambudvip. And in each of these varsas, the Lord is worshipped in one of his manifestations. Not necessarily as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, fully manifest, but in his incarnations, appearing in different moods and pastimes. So we heard about his manifestation as Hayagriva, and how the residents of that Varsha approach the Lord, what prayers they offer. And we heard from Prahlad Maharaj, who worships the Lord in his manifestation of Lord Nrsingadev. And these are all devotees, and it's all Supreme Personality of Godhead, just according to their different mood of service. The Lord is manifest and enjoys receiving their devotion. A particular mood, a particular form, a particular pastime, and paraphernalia. And then we heard the prayers as the Lord is worshipped as Kamadev, or Pradumna, most beautiful, Cupid-like, even more beautiful than Cupid. But that aspect, and those prayers were offered by Lakshmi Devi and the goddesses of fortune in that Varsa. And now we're going to be hearing about Ramyaka Varsa. And that's where Vyāsadeva Manu is the chief living entity there. And he rules Vyāsadeva Manu. So this is the translation, text 24. Sukadeva Goswami continued. In Ramyaka Varsa, where Vyāsadeva Manu rules, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as Lord Matsya at the end of the last era, Chakshusha Manvantar. Vyāsadeva Manu now worships Lord Matsya in pure devotional service and chants the following mantra. There's different incarnations. I think are these Leela incarnations, pastime incarnations? Yeah, I believe so. Okay. Text 25. I offer my respectful obeisances. This is Vyāsadeva Manu, offering prayers to Matsya, Lord Matsya. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, who is pure transcendence. He's the origin of all life, bodily strength, mental power, and sensory ability, known as Matsya Avatar, the gigantic fish incarnation. He appears first among all incarnations. Again, I offer my obeisances unto him. So, these different forms, half lion, half man, fish. If we're identifying with the material body and the material world, then we're going to have trouble with this. It's going to seem like phantasmagoria. It's going to seem like mythology. But if we're on the transcendental platform, the spiritual platform, where we're not identifying with this temporary body, but we understand and we have realization that we're spirit, we're not matter, then these different forms, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. We can accept these things without any problem. So, Prabhupada's commentary. Srila Jayadeva Goswami sings, Pralaya paya di jale distavanasi vedam vihita vihitra charitrama kedam Keshava Drita Mina Sarira Jaya Jagadisha Hari. Soon after the cosmic creation, the entire universe was inundated with water. At that time, Lord Krishna, Keshava, incarnated as a gigantic fish to protect the Vedas. Therefore, Manu addresses Lord Matsya as Mukhyatama, the first incarnation to appear. Fish are generally considered a mixture of the modes of ignorance and passion, but we must understand that every incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is completely transcendental. There is never any deterioration of the Supreme Lord's original transcendental quality. Therefore, the word Satvaya is used here, meaning pure goodness on the transcendental platform. There are many incarnations of the Supreme Lord. Varahamurti, the boar form. Kurmamurti, the tortoise form. Hayagriva, the form of a horse, and so on. Yet we should never think of any of them as material. They're always situated on the platform of Suddha Sattva, pure transcendence. And the Lord appears in those forms for a particular purpose. And they're gigantic forms. They're not like a regular horse that you would see on a farm somewhere. These are gigantic forms that are actually, in one sense, you could think of them as being unlimited. Just like Krishna's form as the personality of Godhead Krishna. There's no limit to his quality or his quantity. It's an unlimited form. So similarly, these forms, although they appear like a boar or a fish or a tortoise, the form is actually unlimited and completely transcendental, but appears for a particular purpose, particular reason. He appears in that form. So we hear here that close to the creation, close to the time of creation of the universe, it was inundated with water. I believe the past time, or what happened was Lord Brahma, who has that task of creative function, took a nap. He just sort of dozed off. And when he did, the universe started to fill with water. It was an unscheduled devastation. It was a partial devastation, totally unscheduled. And he just dozed off. He kind of dozed off. And Lord Krishna appeared as a little fish to Vyāsadeva Manu. And the fish spoke to him and said, "I need more water. Please, can you put me in a larger body of water, like a river or something?" So Vyāsadeva Manu, acting on behalf of the Supreme Lord, all living entities are to be see that they have what they need. So Put the little fish in a bigger body of water, say a lake, and immediately the fish expanded. And he spoke to Vyāsadeva Manu. I need more water. This is not enough. So put him in the ocean. He expanded. It's because the inundation was coming. So there was going to be more water. The whole universe was going to start to fill up with water. And Krishna was expanding accordingly in this fish form. And he carried the Vedas through the devastation to save them. So it's roughly the pastime. So Vyāsadeva Manu here worships the Lord as his incarnation as Matsya avatar. Text 26. My dear Lord, this is Vyāsadeva Manu continuing, my dear Lord, just as a puppeteer controls his dancing dolls, and a husband controls his wife, your Lordship controls all the living entities in the universe, such as Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras. Although you're in everyone's heart as the supreme witness and commander, and are outside of everyone as well, the so-called leaders of societies, communities, and countries cannot realize you. Only those who hear the vibration of the Vedic mantras can appreciate you. So how important is hearing? See, people, mostly conditioned souls, try to understand with their mind. It's kind of like a mechanical understanding, how things work with their mind. And they approach knowledge as if it were a how-to manual. But that's not what it is. There may be some how-to in there, how to get to a point of purity where a person can hear the vibrations of the Vedic mantras properly. That kind of how-to. Like, there may be some, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, and do this, that kind of how-to. Why? So that you can hear the vibration of the mantras and appreciate the Lord. And that generally involves some austerity, avoiding things that someone may be accustomed to enjoying through their senses. But generally, conditioned souls can't hear. And Bhāgavata Purāṇa was saying, although the Lord is in everyone's heart, as the witness and commander, says the Lord is controlling everyone's actions through the modes of material nature also. Their actions are being controlled. The Lordship controls all the living entities in the universe, controls everyone, in everyone's heart, and is outside of everyone as well, inside and outside as well. However, so-called leaders, now that's a giveaway there, so-called, because of the conditional state, they're not recognizing the actual controller and the actual leader, and they're thinking they're the leaders of societies and communities and countries, and cannot realize the actual leader situated in everyone's heart. It says, only those who hear the vibration of the Vedic mantras can appreciate you. And that's the only qualification, to be able to actually hear the messages of Godhead, wherever a person is situated in society. If they can hear those messages, and they can appreciate the Lord. What happens when they appreciate the Lord? The Lord appreciates them. And He reveals more and more about Himself and about the path back to Him, out of illusion, out of the conditioned state. So it's a mutual appreciation society. The more the devotee appreciates the Lord, the more the Lord appreciates the devotee. The Lord is so appreciative when someone appreciates Him. He's a person. He's supplying everything. He's controlling everything. He's also a person. So He's very appreciative. So, commentary by Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is antarbahi, present within and without everything. One must overcome the delusion caused by the Lord's external energy and realize His presence both externally and internally. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimati Kunti Devi has explained that Krishna appears in this world, nato yataro yata, exactly like an actor dressed as a player. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Ishvara sarma bhutanam Hridesharjuna tishtati. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna. The Lord is situated within everyone's heart and outside as well. Within the heart, He's the Supersoul, the incarnation who acts as the advisor and witness. Yet, although God is residing within their hearts, foolish people say, I cannot see God. Please show Him to me. So there's that famous line from Shakespeare. All but actors. Everyone is but an actor on the stage. So Krishna is like that. He appears on the platform of the material stage, and he acts. He becomes an actor on that platform. But He's never bewildered by it. All the other living entities are also actors on the stage of the material platform. It's just a temporary performance. However, the conditioned souls don't realize what it really is. It's just a performance, a temporary performance. Become attached, forget their real identity. There's a little story about a little old woman. She went with her family to the state fair. Now, if you know these fairs and carnivals, they're usually quite crowded. The midway and the Ferris wheel and the ring toss and the unmentionable refreshments available. And it just crowded. It's like a stampede in there. You have to wait in line for everything, and people are bumping into each other shoulder to shoulder. And so it was the first time this little old woman, she had actually been to a state fair. And so the family, the kids were going on the rides and everything, and then it was time for it to close for the evening. And the little old woman, somehow, she didn't realize that everyone was just there for a temporary time. It was just temporary. It was just there for the evening. She thought the people lived there. She thought it was a city, and she thought the people lived there. And when it started to close, and the people were leaving out through the gates, she got very worried, and she turned to her children and she said, "Oh my God, where will all these people go? They have no place to go now." And she thought they lived there. So the material world is like a big carnival. It's a big midway. And it's interesting that people go to these fairs And really it's a reflection of a reflection. They don't get it. This carnival has been created from what they see around them for entertainment. They don't get it. The whole material world is like a state fair or a carnival. The whole thing's a Ferris wheel, a merry-go-round. To take this a step further, it's really beautiful how much in illusion people are. Most people, of course that little old woman was very unusual, but most people, they understand, oh, we're just here to enjoy for a little while and then we're going to leave. We saved up enough money so we can pay for this and pay for that and try to enjoy here the thrills, sensational thrills, bodily sensational thrills. Sometimes they end up throwing up. You get sick to their stomach on some of these thrilling rides. Sometimes the ambulance comes, has to take someone away. They have a heart attack in the middle of it all. But for the most part, they just go there for some cheap thrills. Most people understand that it's temporary. Unfortunately, on the material stage, most people don't understand. And they are like that little old woman. Oh my God, where's everybody going? I guess when this ends, that's the end of everything? As if the end of the carnival was the end of creation or the end of their life or something. So, I had the experience. I was one city that I was living in for a little while had just restored a carousel from it was hand carved. It was a beautiful piece of art. It was hand carved out of wood, the different animal forms. If you've ever seen a carousel, this was a beautiful, beautiful piece of work. I mean, it was artwork, hand carved horses and giraffes and lions and rabbits, all the different animal forms. And as the carousel, it's on a revolving platform. It revolves like a wheel, and the animals go up and down. So it makes like a ride. They bob up and down. And those that want to enjoy the ride, they sit on one of these animals as it goes up and down and around. And they play the calliope music. Dun, 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 and it goes around and around. And I was watching these people, mostly putting their children on the rides, small children. And it's like, there's reincarnation right in front of everyone's eyes. It's reincarnation. Because when the music stopped, then sometimes they wanted to ride another one. They got off the rabbit and they wanted to get on the lion. And then they rode around for a little while, say a lifetime. And I just watched it. I was in amazement that here it is. It was like a diorama exhibit of a changing body or something. It was there. It was being exhibited right before everyone's eyes. And no one really paid much mind to it, I don't think. It was just an interesting ride, something for the children to enjoy, small children. But there it was, a reflection of the reflection of our situation. So, Krishna is within everyone's heart. He's controlling everyone because of the conditional state. And people are enamored by thinking that they're the controllers. And so they can't perceive Krishna. Prabhupada continues, everyone is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, exactly like dancing dolls controlled by a puppeteer, or a woman controlled by her husband. Yeah, like those animals going up and down on the carousel. Material nature, under the direction of Krishna, Krishna's agents, is controlling their movements. Okay, Prabhupada continues, a woman is compared to a doll, Darumayi, because she has no independence, and she should always be controlled by a man. Still, due to false prestige, a class of women wants to remain independent. What to speak of women? All living entities are prakriti, female, and therefore dependent on the Supreme Lord, as Krishna himself explains in Bhagavad Gita. Aparayam ititas tvanyam prakritim vidi me param. The living entity is never independent. Under all circumstances, he's dependent on the mercy of the Lord. The Lord creates the social divisions of human society, Brahman, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras, and ordains that they follow rules and regulations suited to particular position. In this way, all members of society remain always under the Supreme Lord's control. Still, some people foolishly deny the existence of God. So yes, a woman should always remain dependent on either her father when she's growing up, her husband when she marries, her grown-up children when she's old, and if she doesn't have a husband or grown-up children, then she goes back to her father's house. And if then she has no father, she simply depends on Krishna. So, she's always dependent. And then Prabhupada says, well, what do you mean just women? It's not just women, it's everyone is always dependent on Krishna. Because everyone is in that position of dependency. Krishna's supplying everything. He's supplying the air, the water. He's supplying the body. He's supplying everything. All the elements. And he's supplying the ability in man too. And the intelligence in man. He's supplying the sex drive in man. I am sex life, which is non-different. Which is when it's religious principle. I am sex life, religious sex life. I am a chapter in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says the things he is. Strength of the strong. So Krishna's supplying everything, not just the gross material elements, but all the qualities also. Everything's coming from Krishna. The ability to love is coming from Krishna. So everyone is dependent on Krishna. And for the smooth running of human society, there are the divisions. The Lord says he creates those divisions in human society. Brahman, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras. And they follow the rules of their particular occupation, which is suitable to their nature. In this way, everyone remains under the Supreme Lord's control. Still, some foolish people deny the existence of God. Self-realization means to understand one's subordinate position in relation to the Lord. Okay, so there's a lot of talk, and a lot of seminars, and a lot of books, and a lot of group meetings, and a lot of solitary meditations, and a lot of teachers and guides. And there's a lot of attention being put now on self-realization. I realize myself. So, with mental speculation, self-realization could mean anything. Whatever desire or idea one has about oneself might be called self-realization. I'm going to realize myself as good as God. Self-realization. Right? But here, the truly self-realized soul is saying what self-realization is. Self-realization means to understand one's subordinate position in relation to the Lord. Why? Because the self, there's a self, and then there's a minute self, and then there's the infinite self. The same in quality, but different in quantity. Because the minute self is part and parcel, expanded from the infinite self. So self-realization means to understand one's position, which is subordinate. And there's no reason to be unhappy about that. That's very nice, actually. When one realizes actual position and that it is subordinate, that's very nice, actually. You realize that we're not alone. We're connected to the Supreme Lord. And He never leaves us. Why? Because we're part of Him. Part and parcel of the Lord. We're subordinate. He's not a cruel master. He's a lot of fun. That's what He's all about. He's the supreme enjoyer. He's not enjoying at the expense of others. Like in the material situation where we appear disconnected. I worked for a man one time who, he's a very nice man, very pious. He was praying to Krishna in his own way, with his understanding and his teachings. And he had some very good qualities. It was good to have a boss like that. He's very understanding and compassionate. And one time there was some conflict amongst myself and some of the other workers. Just become irritated with each other. It's natural. It happens in a workplace all the time. And so he sat us all down. It was 3 or 4 of us that were, it was just not being able to get along and work together nicely. So he sat us down to resolve the situation. And he said, "You see my hand?" I said, "You see? We have a finger, all different. They're all different. This one's small, this one's a little bigger, this one, and they're all different. And they all serve the hand, because they're all connected. If you look this way, you might not see that they're connected. They look maybe separate. But when you see they're all connected, and they all work together, but they're all different." So that helped us. We relaxed, and we still weren't like very happy about each other because, it was irritating. But we were able to get through it and do what needed to be done. And all the confrontation kind of backed off. So in the material situation, sometimes we don't see how we're all connected. Actually, most of the time, we don't see the big connection. And so there's conflict there.